I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll have the roll call.
Councilor Olson.
Here.
Bridge.
Here.
Bender.
Here.
Mertzik.
Here.
McDonald.
Here.
Hendry.
Here.
Finsland.
Here.
Herrick.
Here.
McKenzie.
Here.
Dahlbeck.
Here.
Nowicki.
Here.
Sather.
Here.
And we are all here. I'll ask for the approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Dahlbeck, second by Councilor Bender. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Minutes are approved.
Item 6 is the consent agenda.
Let's see, who did I hear? Mr. Finsland and Mr. Hendry. And any discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Consent agenda is approved.
Item 7 is business by department heads. 7.1, Finance Director Gene Vito is submitting the Animal Shelter Task Force final recommendations.
Motion and a second we need.
Motion approved.
Mr. Bender, second by Mr. McKenzie, and we're going to have Dave Miner give a very short presentation.
Well, the good news is the presentation Dan Romans helped me put together, I left at home. So you really lucked out there.
Dave, I noticed everybody on this side of the room laughed, on this side did not.
I know. It's a translation. It's working its way to you, so hang in there with it. As the mayor said, my name is Dave Miner. I am the chair of the task force that you appointed to identify one simple thing here this evening, and that was what group is out there, what group is best situated to run a new animal shelter. We took that charge very seriously. We held a series of meetings in a very short time frame. Basically, we asked all three groups to come to us, and when I say three groups, we're talking about ARF, Douglas County Humane Society, and Animal Allies. We looked at first ARF and the Humane Society to ask them to come in, explain to us who they are, what kind of operation they run, the history, all of that. As we started to do that, it became very clear to, I think, almost everybody, if not all of us on the task force, that there really was one organization that was best suited to bring this project to fruition and operate for the long term in the future, and that was a collaboration between the three of them with Animal Allies leading that charge. We really looked at all of the situations, studied it hard, came up with unanimous recommendation that at this point we're asking you to follow suit with is to sit down with Animal Allies, in collaboration with the other two, to form one organization to run that new animal shelter that needs to be built for the city of Superior. When you look at that, and those organizations, as we came here about 3 or 4 weeks ago and asked you to give us some time, they've been meeting, they've been doing their due diligence to work together on how to form that one organization. All of that's still moving on. There's much information in here that you're going to make other decisions as the time goes on. But tonight, simply, we're just asking you to adopt our recommendation to allow those three groups to continue to meet, form one organization, and then that's really where the negotiations begin between the city, ultimately one final package brought to you with what that group will look like. With that, I'll entertain any questions if there is any.
Any questions, councilors? Mr. McKenzie.
Yeah, first off, Dave, thanks for that explanation, and I really, really appreciate what you brought to the table with this task force, and so I really, really appreciate that. I also want to thank you, Gene, for putting together this summary, this packet that we got here tonight. Really, really a good job explaining, how we came to this determination. And I think with that said, I really believe that combining forces with Douglas County, with ARF and Animal Allies in the lead, I really think it's our best option in providing quality animal control and a quality environment, and most important, a quality building. I know this is one step, like you said, Dave, but I think it's a big step, and it's much closer than we were before.
Yes.
And it's a positive step and a positive solution. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mick. Appreciate your time.
Thank you,
as well.
Councilor McKenzie. Any other comments? Mr. Herrick. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say I appreciate the work that went into this. I want to congratulate the committee who worked on this. It was It was an interesting read because it covered basically a lot of the questions that would have to be answered, so I appreciate the work the committee did on this.
And I just want to second Mick. I would like to thank Gene as well for all the time and energy that went into putting all of the talk and conversation into something that can be readily readable and very explainable to you.
And just so everybody knows, if they need a copy of that, it's over on the table there. Anybody wants to
That's a
take
good
it?
reminder. Thank you. Mr. Olson?
Dave, under Appendix D here, this timeline that you've got listed, what, just where are we looking at getting the three groups together to come forward with this then? Where's that in here? The council final resolution of intent, or is it just...
Dan, it's kind of a moving target right now, but I mean, I know from their standpoint, from the three organizations, they'd like to see that all finalized as soon as possible.
Okay.
So, I mean, you're talking within the next months, you're going to be brought with, I think, a lot of decisions and individual votes almost as this thing continues to build, but they want to see that happen as quickly as possible because they're obviously, who's going to run it in the meantime, and all those other things have to take place. So I don't think it's going to be very long.
Actually, we're going status quo right now with what we've got?
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor to adopt the task force final recommendation, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. 7.1 passes. Did I miss somebody's? Did someone make a motion? Yes, we did. Yeah, we had a motion and a second before there was discussion. Thank you. Thank you. 7.1 passes.
7.2, Finance Director Vito is submitting the 2011 Information Services, Library, and Liability Insurance Budget Update.
Motion by Counselor Dahlbeck, second by Counselor McDonald. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. 7.2 passes.
Police Chief Peters is advising this period Police Department has been awarded a $262,567 grant for community-oriented policing grant from the U.S. Department of Justice and is requesting approval to accept the grant.
Motion by Counselor Finzen, second by Counselor Dahlbeck. Any discussion? Chief would like to make some comments.
I'm very excited to share with the council tonight this grant award. Our department was one of only 5 in the state of Wisconsin out of 100 applicants that were chosen for this round of funding, and it's complete funding. There's no match required, which is even more exciting. We're going to use this funding to assign a veteran officer in our department to a new position of community policing officer, and that person will help us work with the community and members of our department to identify quality of life issues, including reoccurring crime problems and disorder, and then help us create solutions to these problems while working with members of our department to implement solutions. And overall, we want to improve the quality of life in the community and continue with the proactive policing programs and projects we've been doing. We just started a new program in our department, so the timing in this is just perfect, called MPOPS. And MPOP stands for Managed Problem-Oriented Policing Program. And it's helping us advance some of the long-standing proactive policing philosophies we've been involved in. The position will go for 3 years funded, and I'm really excited. It's an encouragement to the department and an affirmation to us that the experts in our field that review these grant applications are looking at our department, and they're affirming to me that the direction we've taken is current in our policing philosophy, is current in the things that we are doing in proactive ways are being recognized. So the timing of this is really good for us. So I thank the council for your continued support and Mayor Ross as we work to make our community better. I've got outstanding men and women on a day-to-day basis serving our community and staff working with me in the department as we move in this direction. And again, this has been an encouragement to us to receive this as just one of 5 agencies in the state.
Thank you. Councilors, any questions for the chief? Seeing none, we'll celebrate with the chief tonight. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. 7.3 passes.
7.4, Planning Director Circus submitting a request from the Duluth Transit Authority for approval of a system-wide fare increase effective July January 1st, 2011.
Motion by Counselor Dahlbeck. Second by Counselor Bender. Any discussion? Mr. Finland.
I believe there's a correction that the off-peak stride, I believe it should be 120 if it's double 60. I don't think it should be 125. The last of the column on the left, the current price.
That's correct, Counselor.
Okay, we shall make
Just
that.
correct it for the record.
Okay, let's make.
What should it be? I'm sorry.
It should be at $1.20 rather than $1.25.
For the off-peak stride.
Yeah, it's just a
Okay.
typo.
Okay, we shall correct that. Mr. Herrick.
Yeah. Jason, just a question for you. What's the main reason for the increases in the bus fares?
I think what I'm going to do is probably defer to Jim Heilig from the Duluth Transit Authority to kind of maybe talk a little bit about the who's, whys, and hows, and kind of how we're going to work with this. So, Jim?
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much, Jim Heilig from Duluth Transit Authority. This is kind of a different type of fare increase for us. This one basically started with the community in Duluth. Obviously, like every other public sector situation over the last several years, our money has been very tight. And at the same time, we've had lots of people that have been requesting additional services. We had a group of citizens working along with some of the hospitals that really wanted to get some service for that third shift over in Duluth. And we basically were saying that, from our general forms of funding, we just don't have enough money to do that. Well, the groups met with a lot of the low-income groups over in Duluth and came back with an option: why don't you raise the fares to pay for the added service? So we went through about a 6-month planning process and involved the community on both sides of the bay and started talking about that. And basically, through the public hearing process, we probably had one of the most positive discussions we've had about our service levels and fare levels. And we brought it to the City Council in Duluth about a month ago, and it was approved unanimously, and everyone that came to speak spoke in favor of the fare increase. And again, I think why it was so atypical for us too is it was the low-income population in Duluth that really pushed for the fare increase. And for them, it was a jobs and an access to jobs issue. So that's why we propose this. On this side of the bay, it does not generate a huge sum of money, somewhere between maybe $8,000 and $12,000. So there was not a recommendation to add additional regular route service here. But I think, as some of you know too, over the last several months, we've been throwing an extra stride bus over here at certain times of the day to prevent any denials within that ADA system. And this would cover the cost of that additional service.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson.
How's our ridership in Superior? Are we holding our own, or?
I think basically all the systems kind of went up in 2008 and 2009 when the fuel prices really spiked and everyone kind of ebbed off a tad. After that, major cities dropped as much as 13%. Up here in our end of the state, in both sides of the bay, we're down maybe 2 or 3%. So we have had a minor decrease, but it hasn't been anywhere as severe as many of the other areas.
So are we using the smaller buses over here?
In the middle part of the day, we have some of the smaller buses over here, yes. There's not a huge difference in the cost between operating those small buses versus the large buses either. In some cases, some of our larger buses too are some of the hybrids, so those are, about 25% more efficient than a regular bus of the same size. So they're down, in terms of fuel usage, better than the small buses even.
And then one more thing, too, is the stimulus package provided some transportation needs in Duluth. I sit on the MIC, Metropolitan Interstate Council. Are we using those dollars for are we getting new buses in the transition here?
Several different projects were involved with that. We got some pass-through money from the state of Minnesota that was used to buy about 2.2 buses, and so those were some of the new buses that arrived here just in the last month. And we also had money to do some other projects. We did some facility projects with them, some energy projects with those to, again, help us reduce some of our costs.
Okay, does that include the proposed terminal that's going to be built over in Duluth on
That's
next to
actually
the depot?
That's separate from the stimulus. That project, we have approximately $16 million has been devoted to that through the Federal Transit Administration, and that came through what's called State of Good Repair, which is actually comes out of one of the other sections of the federal grant that was monies that other systems had not spent over the last 5 years that was made available for these types of projects.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bender.
Yes. Jim, I had a quick question. Has a senior pass ever been considered?
Well, it has, and we've decided against it. In part, the seniors get a discount, along with everybody else, get a discount to ride during the middle part of the day. And like every mass transit system there is, we don't want to have a lot of folks riding in the peak because that gets very expensive for us. If we provide a senior pass, we looked at doing it as an off-peak only pass, and the comments we got back from the public when we suggested that says, well, then we really don't want it. We want a pass that's good all the time at a discounted rate. And we're just real hesitant to do that because we don't want to increase that peak service. That's our most expensive service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bender. Mr. McKenzie.
Did you ask that question because you're a senior? Warren?
I know how old you are.
You're still older. Jim, I'm glad you're here tonight, and I know we've had talks before and meetings before, and I think there's a little bit of maybe misunderstanding or confusion about, you talk. Some people call it an overflow bus, or you're calling it off-peak or something like that. I know when we got this approved, and Jason, you were instrumental in getting this second bus. I still think that there's a concern that people are not getting the rides that they should get, and you talked about denials as well. There's still people that are being denied rides even in advance. So I wonder if you can maybe elaborate a little bit on your thoughts on that, and if you can improve it, or maybe Jason, too, if you got some thoughts.
First off, just kind of an explanation. What we're talking about here is on our STRIDE service, our ADA service for disabled people. And under the federal rules, there's what they call a denial, and you're not supposed to have any. And what a denial is if someone calls for our service a day in advance or more and says, I'd like a trip at 2 o'clock, then we have the responsibility to provide a trip anywhere between 1 and 3 for that person. If we can make it within that 1 hour window either side, it's not a denial. Now, obviously for some folks, if you're going to come at that hour later, well, then they can't get to their doctor appointment, or if you're coming the hour earlier, they can't wait that long at their appointment, or whatever their reason is for traveling. And so from a consumer standpoint, folks are saying we're not providing that service. That's not good. It's not an ADA denial if we can provide within that hour either way. And since we've added the second bus, we have not had an ADA denial. Now, the city is not required to do more than that. The city can at their option. In Duluth, we've basically added another bus for the same reason. And it probably goes out a tad more over there. It's a local decision.
Well, thanks. I do believe that there has been some ADA denials, but that's I guess that's up to debate. But like I said, when I first heard about this second bus, in fact, tell me if I'm wrong, you said that there would be no denials whatsoever.
There have been no ADA denials. That is correct. There have been no ADA denials. We have had cases where someone, again, has asked for that 2 o'clock trip. We've been able to provide a 1 o'clock trip or a 2 o'clock or a 3 o'clock trip, and they've refused it. But that is not an ADA denial.
Right. But like I say, I'm still hearing directly from people saying that's not true. And I know.
I'd love to be able to track those if that's the case.
Well, right.
And we do listen in on some of the STRIDE calls just to verify what's happening there. And at this point in time, I cannot say that we are not giving you good information.
Right.
When the people call in, this stuff is right on our computer. If they hit denial, it's there. It's solid.
Right, but like I say, this is something that's important. That's the reason why I'm bringing it up to you, because people that need these rides they need it because of the doctor's appointments, important things. They're not just going to Kmart, they're not just, going somewhere, like you and I might go down to the corner store. These are important appointments that they need, so I'm hoping that we can approve it if there are denials.
And I certainly don't disagree with what you're saying. Dialysis is one of the more frequent items right now. We also have a lot of folks in senior care, especially with an increase in the amount of Alzheimer's and stuff in the area. These are important trips that people are making.
Right.
There's no question about
very,
that.
very important. So, all right, thanks.
Councilor Finzland.
Yeah, Jim, I know I heard your explanation at the Commission on Disabilities the other day, but would you fill us in about the percentage of stride ridership in Superior compared with the percentage of stride ridership in Duluth as it relates to the overall ridership? There might be an explanation for the council.
Duluth and Superior are different in a couple of different areas. Just to look at Superior during the middle part of the day, we basically have 2 regular route buses serving the entire city during the middle part of the day. We have 1 stride bus serving the Superior during that same time, unless we've needed that second bus to come on. And most often, that second bus has been needed, in the off-peak, much more than in the peak. When you look at it, the stride service is probably 10 to 12% of the population. So it's serving a smaller level of the total population. In contrast to that, on the Duluth side, we'll have 30 buses operating during the middle part of the day on our regular route fleet and 4 stride buses. And that's a much more normal type of ratio. And at the same time in Duluth, our disabled population is still around that 10-12%. So, there is a difference here in terms of the amount of need that we're seeing out of the community.
Councilor Finzland.
Now, one other thing that you pointed out was that our regular bus service is mostly disabled accessible transportation, even though they're not stride buses. The stride buses are on demand door-to-door sort of services, but our regular bus service, most of it is now handicapped accessible.
100%.
Yeah.
Both sides of the bay.
Yes. Thank you.
Councilor Dahlbeck.
I was just curious, it's curb to curb, right?
Stride is curb to curb.
Curb to curb, and why don't you just advertise then that it's just, instead of having doctor's appointments, just strictly for grocery shopping or Kmart, Walmart, whatever, so these people won't call for doctor's appointments, because if they got a doctor's appointment, they can't go an hour before or 2 hours before. They have to be there at such and such a time. Wouldn't it be more convenient for them to know that you only provide services to and from supermarket or whatever?
Well, we're not limited by trip purpose, and in fact, we can't ask trip purpose. Because on the regular route bus, we don't ask people when they get on board, what are you riding for? Same thing applies to stride. Trip purpose does not enter into the decision process on how a trip is offered.
You mean you just call stride and say, I need you at 2 o'clock, and then they don't have...
That's correct. If you're certified to ride stride, that's all you have to do.
Well, so in other words, then, it's not to their purpose then to call you for a doctor's appointment. They shouldn't be calling, is what I'm saying, if they can't get to the doctor at such and such a time.
I would have to say that at this point in time, we have not had a problem with that in the last several months.
Okay.
I'll go to Mr. Shirk and then Mr. Hendry.
Thank you, Mayor. I just kind of wanted to maybe, and Bob can attest to this, we had a very good discussion yesterday at the Commission on Disabilities, and some of the folks that Mick is alluding to were at that meeting yesterday, and I didn't really hear any negative comments towards the stride, and I really think those people understand how it works. And I guess I wanted to reiterate that Jim did a nice job of laying it out to the commission, and I don't think there were really any issues. And what we told the commission we would do is in probably January or February we would come back to them and kind of let them know how this new situation is going and talk to them a little bit about that. So that's kind of what we proposed to them. So I just wanted to add that.
Mr. Hendry.
Yeah, I believe you mentioned that you're running both large buses and small buses, and your large hybrid is getting the mileage that's pretty similar to the small buses. Now I was kind of wondering, is a hybrid available in the smaller buses, and is that feasible?
It is becoming more available, but they're real pricey. the hybrid equipment takes up a lot more space than the regular diesel engine does, and so in a smaller bus, when you add in that hybrid equipment, it takes away significant amount of seats. So we basically haven't looked at it. And at the same time, in the 2010 engines, diesel engines that are now coming out in terms of how clean they are and fuel efficient, we've kind of reached another plateau there too. So it's something that we want to look at real closely each time we look at hybrids versus regular diesel engines. The additional cost for a hybrid right now runs about another $190,000 on each bus. So it's not a decision that you make real quickly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no more discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. 7.4 passes.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jim.
7.5, Assistant Public Works Director Getzman is recommending to award the bid to purchase one mid-size articulated wheel loader for $106,100 and one large articulated wheel loader for $173,700 from Nortrax Equipment of Ashland.
Motion by Counselor Dahlbeck. Second by Counselor Bender. Any discussion? Mr. Finzland.
Looking at the large loader, it seems like when we see the price at $178,144 and a trade-in value of $46,000, the net is still $178,144. I'd like an explanation for that.
Mr. Getzman.
Yeah, you've got me. Yeah, there's got to be a typo in the original bid price. I'm thinking there because I know the.
Well, one way or the other, it doesn't. The math doesn't come out the same.
Absolutely, we'll have to get you a corrected number on that.
And then maybe we should only approve the mid-size loader and wait until we get the information on the large one.
Sounds good.
I'll take that as a motion.
I'd like to modify and request it.
Second by Counselor Dahlbeck. Okay, we have a motion and a second to consider only the mid-size articulated wheel loader for $106,100. Is that correct, Mr. Finzland?
That's how I'd make the motion, yes.
Okay.
Is there a second?
So, we have a second by Counselor Dahlbeck.
Okay.
So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, excuse me. Stop. Mr. Olson.
What are we doing with the old one?
Trading.
But for what reason? The mileage?
Yeah, one's 14 years old and one's 12 years old. They've got considerably high hours on them.
Hours.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Olson. Anybody else? I don't want to. Sorry about that. Okay, I'll clarify. Mr. Finzland's motion is to, until we get the math figured out on the large articulated wheel loader, he is asking that we approve only the mid-size articulated wheel loader for $106,100. It's a motion and a second on the floor, and that's the vote we'll be asking for. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. 7.5 passes with the deletion of the large wheel loader.
10.1 is a resolution introduced by the Common Council concerning the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources Compliance Maintenance Annual Report for 2009.
Motion by Mr. Bender, second by Counselor Dahlbeck. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. 10.1 passes.
10.2 is a resolution providing for the redemption and prepayment of $652,931 the state trust fund loan.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Counselor Dahlbeck, second by Counselor McDonald. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. 10.2 passes.
10.3 is a resolution introduced by the Community Development Division setting a public hearing December 7th to review the 2011 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan.
Motion by Counselor Finzland, second by Counselor Herrick. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. You're dismissed. Council, we need a motion to adjourn.